It's the Adam Gold Show with Adam Gold. Graham Hill on the ones and twos. I've watched a lot of great basketball games, many of them college, many of them pro. I thought yesterday afternoon, it was a night in Paris, yesterday afternoon's USA comeback from dead to beat Serbia was one of the best basketball games Kevin Durant said he'd ever played in. But it was, borderline inspiring to watch 39-year-old, soon-to-be 40-year-old LeBron James, 35-year-old Kevin Durant, 36-year-old Steph Curry drag Team USA across the finish line into the gold medal game. Mike Decourcy of the Sporting News was watching it and maybe at times tweeting about it along with all of us. And he joins us on the Adam Gold Show at TSN Mike on Twitter. Is it fair to say that three of the best players we have ever seen basically dragged them across the line?
Oh, absolutely, that's fair. I think that they had help in the fourth quarter from a suddenly awoken from his slumber Joel Embiid and from Devin Booker, who did a really nice defensive job and made a huge shot after Durant was fouled. Or not Durant was fouled, but Durant made the three while Anthony Davis was being fouled. And then after that, on the inbounds play, Booker made the huge three, so the U.S. got a 7-point possession. That was an enormous play, and honestly, for as great as Jokic is, and what a tremendous player he is, that was a really foolish play for him to barrel over Anthony Davis right in front of Durant. That was really a foolish play, and it cost his team badly. He was phenomenal as he usually is. But that was one that if without that, do they come back all the way? I think they probably would have found a way, but those last 2 minutes would have been even more excruciating than they were.
Did you get the sense watching it, Mike Decourcy of the Sporting News is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show, that like a lot of people just as well, LeBron James is on the Olympic team because he wants to be on the Olympic team. It seemed like this game mattered to those guys a lot more than anybody ever anticipated.
Oh, I think you've seen that from LeBron since he walked into the locker room back when they started this process. If you go back to their game against South Sudan in the showcase series, the exhibitions they played, he was the one who took the ball with them down a point and drove it to the rim and scored and got them the victory. Germany was a tight game. He scored the final 11 points of the game. Yesterday was not new for this team. This is in terms of what LeBron is willing to do to make sure that they get to where they want to go, and that is not just the gold medal. It was all along. We're not going to have anything on our record that says yeah, but
right.
And that's what his intent was. I mean, he played 32 minutes yesterday.
Yeah,
that in a 40-minute game. This is not a 48-minute game. Remember, this is a 32-minute game, and a 40-minute game, and he played 32 minutes and delivered a triple-double. And honestly, I thought that they waited way too long. The first quarter, the first half, really was a disaster coaching-wise. Steve Kerr did a really poor job of analyzing what was happening, adjusting to what was happening. Offensively, they did not rely on LeBron hard enough because when in their starting lineup, Steph Curry can play point guard, Jrue Holiday can play point guard, but they're not offensive initiators. Steph is looking for a shot, and yesterday, of course, and Holiday is supposed to be out there for defense, and he did have 7 assists, but he's not a creator.
Right,
LeBron's a creator, and they didn't get to that nearly soon enough. And then from a defensive standpoint, playing small against having to go through Jokic's screens, it made no sense at all. And the only thing that fixed all of that was when they went big and played Durant at the one wing and Booker at the other, and then all of a sudden, all that screening problem they were having went away.
Well, it went away until Joel Embiid was caught on switches, and this is where I didn't understand why Steve Kerr didn't recognize. Embiid was great on the offensive end. he was not great, except for he had a dynamite block in the fourth quarter, but he was not great on the defensive end. 3 straight blockouts, and all of Serbia's good possessions in the fourth quarter came when he was left guarding people in space that he couldn't guard. Like, especially coming out of dead balls, that would have been a great opportunity to put Bam Adebayo on the court, at least for a defensive possession. But I think Kerr just kind of rolled the dice there.
Well, I think at a certain point they told Embiid, like, you got to get in, guys. You got to step up, and he did. There was at least one opportunity off of what amounted to a switch because the defender got picked off, where he actually stepped into the pocket and challenged the shot.
Yeah,
the perimeter only produced Bogdanovic produced 5 points in the fourth quarter. That was all the perimeter did for Serbia in the fourth quarter. What little else they did, and they only scored 15 points, what little else they did all came from the inside. So finally, Davis began the quarter, played some minutes, and then he puts in for offense Embiid. And finally Embiid said, yeah, it won't cost me that much to step 3 feet and at least challenge a shot. And he finally did it, and it made a difference.
Mike Decourcy is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Do you have a theory as to why Jason Tatum has played the same number of minutes that you and I have played against Serbia in these Olympic Games?
Yeah, I think that my theory on it is simple, and that is that the problem that Jason has on this team is that for Jason to be effective at the offensive end, you have to be running things for him. And that's certainly a very wise thing to do when you are the Boston Celtics or the 2020 U.S. Olympic team, when Kevin Durant was the only other big-time player they had, and Damian Lillard was a big-time player who was having a dreadful Olympics. So they needed him so they could run stuff for him. You're not running stuff for him now when he's out there with LeBron or Steph or KD or whoever. Well, those guys are all more reliable shooters than he is. And in this circumstance, what they need on that wing is a shooter, and that's why Booker was the choice, as long as Booker was doing his job defensively. And Booker was not the problem in the first couple of quarters defensively. The problem was all the small guards. It was every point guard they put out there was a disaster. And my problem with the solution with Kerr's approach, my thinking was, like, I wanted to see them go with Halliburton because, okay, if your point guard is just going to get screened anyway, then at least have somebody who can make the offense hum. And the leading assist guy in the NBA last year, not playing with LeBron James, Steph Curry, and KD, if you had him running an attack, the ball would get to where it needed to be. And that was a huge problem for a lot of that game yesterday, was that the ball was never getting where it needed to be.
Mike Decourcy of the Sporting News is joining us at TSN Mike on Twitter. Does Steve Kerr know that Tyrese Halliburton's on the team, though? He has not played in a lot of games.
I believe, I know he played 8 minutes in the blowout of Brazil. I'm not sure if that's all he's played in the Olympics, but if so, he's played 8 more minutes than the two of us.
You know, the funny thing is that I always kind of, when they decided to go with Derek White over Jaylen Brown, I just assumed that Derek White's making the team because, look, Derek White doesn't have to play. He's played a fair amount, right?
Yeah, the decision that they made after they played South Sudan in the showcase series was that they were going to go with defense, and Derek is much more on defense than Halliburton. Now, I don't think Tyrese would dispute that.
Right.
The problem is that in order for that to matter, then he has to be good on defense, and he was terrible yesterday.
Right.
And I mean, this is an amazing stat. He was a minus 16 in 7 minutes of playing time. A minus 16. I mean, that's how bad he was on defense yesterday. He was getting screened. He fouled a guy for a 4-point play. He was just awful. And Holiday wasn't much better. He really struggled defensively as well. And Steph struggled defensively too, but Steph was, okay, I just gave up a 3, so I'll go make one. And eventually he scores 36 points and makes 9 threes. and makes the biggest defensive play of the game in the end when he steals the poor pass to the wing, to the opposite wing, and goes down and lays it in and makes it a 5-point lead.
I do think Serbia probably ran out of gas just a little bit. So now, and honestly, the U.S. leaned on it.
I have seen that elsewhere. Let me say why that's not a good excuse.
Okay.
On most of the time, it would be if they were playing their normal minutes and splitting them up. That would be a fair criticism. But Steph went 33, LeBron went 32, KD went 24, Embiid went 26. So you don't have an excuse for getting tired if the guys you're going against are older than you and playing just as much.
Well, I know I agree with that, but they're also not at that level. And when you're talking about LeBron and Durant and Steph, like I said at the beginning, I think these are three of the I think it's even less than 10. I think they're three of the top 7 players that have ever worn shorts. And they summoned. Also, Durant hasn't played a ton of basketball. I guess neither has Curry and LeBron until the summer. So maybe these guys are fresher. What is the challenge against France other than it's a road game?
Well, there's Wemby. And that's a significant issue. They may have to play differently. How much Embiid helps in a matchup like that? Maybe not so much. I think you'll have to see Anthony Davis play more basketball tomorrow and play well. He struggled with fouls against Jokic's physicality. I don't think physicality is the issue with Wemby at this point. They did not play France. I did not get to see the entire game, and I haven't gotten to read anything about what happened either. They did not play Rudy Gobert much in that game.
No, he didn't play much, and Evan Fournier didn't play much. But I will say this: I watched. It was on during the show. France was thumping Germany until the fourth quarter, and then you could see France staring at the finish line. And they just barely got to the tape ahead of Germany. If that game was 2 minutes longer, Germany would have won by 10.
Well, when Franz Wagner pulled the rebound off with a chance to go tie it, and then just fell down, I was like, he had to have been fouled. I was convinced he was fouled, but he did it on his own. It was. I'm sure it was a very disheartening play for Franz.
Have you hated the way this? I mean, I kind of have liked the way the officiating has been. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think we call way too many fouls in basketball, both at the pro and college level. I have dug the way they have allowed the physicality to just be there.
I don't believe that's basketball. I really don't. You sound like Bob Huggins all of a sudden. I don't know where that came from.
Wow.
But I mean that because that was that's the basketball that he basically invented. If you look back in the evolution of college basketball and where we got stuck in the mud, and I'm not I understand Bob wanted to win, but that's what he basically brought that physicality, that weightlifting mentality to college basketball, and a lot of people jump in because it's a way to win without the most skilled players. You still have to have skilled players, but you don't have to have the 5 NBA guys that maybe Duke had at the time.
I think I might have been inartfully kind of phrased that because I think what we see a lot is the players that initiate the contact get rewarded, and I think that has been completely ignored by officials. If a defender commits a foul, then I mean I haven't really been that upset with the way the games are called. Although Luol Deng is on line 5 because they certainly complained against Serbia. But it's when the offense creates the contact, and this is not out of a ball fake and getting a guy in the air. Where in the NBA and college basketball, a lot of times you get rewarded for that. That has not happened. And I think it's been good.
I'm not sure. Like, you were watching Jokic yesterday? You didn't think he was getting rewarded for bowling guys over?
No more than he normally would.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't watch a ton of NBA during the regular season. There's not enough time.
Right.
But what I've always believed was kind of like, if you're going to be physical underneath the basket, and if you're going to be out with the ball at the foul line, you don't get to roll over a guy. To me, that's what always has been charging. And that secondary charge is what I've been campaigning against for 30 years.
Hate it, yeah.
And I think we're pretty much there in college basketball now. You don't get that call anymore unless you earn it. But I thought that Jokic was really physical yesterday, and that's why Anthony Davis couldn't play, because there had to be an equal and opposite physical force to withstand that. And in this case, it was Embiid. He didn't do the rest of the defensive stuff that he had to do.
Yeah. And in the fourth quarter, it was LeBron. They put LeBron on him a lot.
Yes.
In the fourth quarter. Mike Decourcy, I ran out of time. I wanted to talk women's national soccer team. Better front three? Has there ever been a better front three than what we've got right now with Sophia Smith, Mal Swanson, and Trinity Rodman?
It's pretty good. But remember, don't forget, there was a time when we had Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe. There's some pretty good. They were good. Pretty good players there as well.
They were good. I don't know. I like this. I like this trio a lot up front. I can't wait for tomorrow against Brazil. Mike Decourcy of the Sporting News at TSN Mike on Twitter. My friend, I will talk to you soon.
Take care, Adam.
You got it.